The space station called Meridian floated in the darkness between three star systems. It was old, very old. For more than 300 years, warriors from across the galaxy had come here to learn how to fight. The Galactic Combat Academy was famous. Every species knew about it. Every government wanted their soldiers trained here. Arrived on a small transport ship with 11 other new cadets. He was the only human. This was not surprising. Humans were new to the galactic community. They had only made contact with alien species 40 years ago. In all that time, only 6 humans had ever been accepted into the academy. Was the 7th. He carried a single bag over his shoulder as he walked through the docking bay. The station was massive. The ceilings were high enough for the tallest species. The hallways were wide enough for the widest. Everything was built to fit everyone, which meant nothing fit anyone perfectly. A group walked past him. They were tall, almost 3 meters high, with hard shells covering their bodies like armor. They had 4 arms each. Their heads had large eyes that could see in all directions at once. They moved with confidence. Why not? They had dominated the academy rankings for decades. The entire fighting curriculum had been designed around their bodies. Watch them pass. He did not speak, he simply observed. The orientation hall was a grand room with seats arranged in a half circle around a raised platform. Cadets from many species filled the seats. Counted at least 15 different types of aliens. Some had fur. Some had scales. Some had neither. One species appeared to be made entirely of floating crystals. He found a seat in the back row. A female sat down next to him. Her species looked like wolves that walked on 2 legs. She had silver fur and nervous eyes. Her name tag said. "First day," she whispered to her friend on her other side. "I heard 60% of cadets fail in the first rotation." On the other side Sata. This species was massive, built like a boulder with arms and legs. Their skin looked like gray stone. The snorted confidently and crossed his thick arms. "I won't fail," the said loudly. "My people are the strongest in 4 systems." Still said nothing. The room became quiet when instructor walked onto the platform. He was but older than the ones had seen in the hallway. His shell had many scars. Some parts had been broken and healed badly. His 4 arms moved smoothly, showing years of training and experience. "I am instructor," he announced. His voice was rough, like stones grinding together. "I have trained warriors for 112 years. I have fought in 9 wars. I have killed enemies that you cannot imagine." He paused and let his many eyes scan across the room, felt those eyes stop on him for a moment. "You are here because your governments believe you are worthy," continued. "Most of you are wrong about this. 60% of you will fail within the first rotation. Your bodies will not be strong enough. Your minds will not be sharp enough. You will go home in shame." The female shifted nervously in her seat. 20% more will be removed because of injuries, said. "The training here is real. The wounds are real. Some of you will break bones. Some will lose limbs. A few throughout history have died." The confidence left his face. "The rest of you," said, and something that might have been a smile crossed his alien face. "The rest of you might become warriors." After the orientation, cadets were assigned to their living quarters. Found his room in the human-compatible section of the station. It was small and simple. A bed, a desk, a small bathroom. The gravity was set to Earth standard. The air was Earth standard. It felt like a tiny piece of home floating in the alien darkness. He unpacked his bag. Inside were clothes, a few personal items, and one old knife. The knife had belonged to his grandfather and his great-grandfather before that. It was nothing special by galactic standards, just simple steel with a wooden handle, but it had taught 4 generations of his family how to fight. Held the knife and felt its weight. He remembered his grandfather's words. "The galaxy will teach you their ways," his grandfather had said. "Learn them, study them, but never forget your own." He placed the knife under his pillow and lay down on the bed. Tomorrow, real training would begin. Tomorrow, he would enter the blade training hall where countless warriors had learned the proper way to fight. Smiled in the darkness. He had seen the walking through the station. He had watched how they moved, how they held themselves, how they expected others to step aside for them. They were skilled. They were experienced. They had built this system. But they had never trained with humans before. In 40 years of contact, humans had always been seen as newcomers, primitive, a young species still learning how the galaxy worked. The aliens did not know about the thousands of years humans had spent fighting each other. They did not know about the countless styles of combat that had developed on Earth. They did not know that humans had been killing each other with blades since before they had words for it. Tomorrow thought they would begin to learn. He closed his eyes and slept peacefully, dreaming of steel and motion, of lessons taught and lessons yet to come. Outside his small window, the stars turned slowly, and the ancient station continued its endless orbit through the darkness between worlds. The blade training hall was the largest room had ever seen. The ceiling was so high that clouds could have formed inside. The floor was made of a special material that could heal itself after being cut or damaged. Along the walls hung thousands of weapons from every corner of the galaxy. Curved blades, straight blades, blades with 3 edges, blades that glowed with strange energy. Gravity zones were marked on the floor in different colors. Blue zones had low gravity for species that came from small moons. Red zones had high gravity for species from massive planets. The standard zone, where most training happened, was painted white. Stood with 40 other first-year cadets in the white zone. Instructor walked slowly in front of them, his 4 arms clasped behind his back. 2 assistant instructors also stood near the weapon wall. Today, announced, you learn the foundation of all combat. Today, you learn how to hold a knife. One of the assistants brought forward a case filled with training knives. They were standard academy blades, each one identical. The blade was slightly curved, about 30 centimeters long, with a weighted pommel at the bottom of the handle. The design was elegant and clearly made for hands. Each cadet received a knife, felt the weight of his. It was heavier than he expected. The balance was different from any blade he had used before. The curve was designed for a specific type of motion. Hold the knife like this, commanded. He demonstrated with one of his lower arms. The blade extended from the top of his fist. The sharp edge faced outward, away from his body. His thumb pressed against the spine of the blade for control. This is the proper grip, continued. It has been refined over 300 years of academy training. This grip provides maximum leverage. It allows optimal edge alignment. It distributes force correctly through the arm and shoulder. He moved through a series of attacks, downward slashes, diagonal cuts. Each movement was smooth and powerful. His other 3 arms moved in coordination, showing how they fought with multiple blades at once. Every species that has graduated from this academy has learned this grip, said. 47 different species. Thousands of warriors. This is the foundation. It is not optional. It is not flexible. It is correct. The cadets tried to copy the grip. They struggled because their fingers were shorter and their palms were different shapes. They had hands so large that the knife looked like a small toy. The crystal beings did not have hands at all and had to form temporary limbs to hold the weapon. Everyone struggled. Everyone tried to adapt their bodies to the technique. Everyone except. He looked at the knife in his hand. He felt its weight and balance. He understood what the academy grip was designed for: downward power, slashing arcs, multiple arm coordination. Then he turned the knife over. He held it with the blade extending from the bottom of his fist instead of the top. The sharp edge faced inward, toward his own forearm. His thumb pressed against the flat of the blade near the handle. It felt natural, it felt right. Human. The single word cut through the training hall like a blade. Instructor was staring directly at. All 40 other cadets turned to look. "You are holding it incorrectly," said. Each word was hard and cold. Did not change his grip. He did not apologize. He stood straight and met the instructor's many eyes. "Respectfully, instructor," he said in a calm voice, "I believe you are gripping it backwards." The training hall became completely silent. No one moved. No one breathed. The words hung in the air like a declaration of war. The female stared at with wide eyes. Her mouth hung open slightly. The next to her looked confused, then amused, then worried. Instructor walked toward slowly, his forearms unclasped from behind his back, his many eyes focused entirely on the human. 300 years, said quietly. 300 years of refined technique, 47 species trained, countless battles won with these methods. He stopped directly in front of. He was almost twice the human's height. And you, a cadet fresh from a primitive backwater planet, believe you know better than all of this. Did not step back. He did not look away. Different species have different bodies, he said simply. Different bodies need different techniques. Humans have been fighting with blades for thousands of years. We developed our own methods. Our grip is not wrong. It is different, and for human bodies it is more effective. The silence stretched longer. The other cadets watched like they were witnessing something historical. Perhaps they were. His mandibles clicked together slowly. It might have been anger. It might have been something else. "Prove it," he said. Those two words changed everything. The other cadets moved back quickly. They formed a wide circle around instructor and the human who had dared to challenge 300 years of tradition. Whispers spread through the group like fire. "He is going to die," someone said. "Fought in 9 wars," another voice added. "Humans are insane," a third concluded. Pushed to the front of the circle, her silver fur stood up along her neck and shoulders. Her eyes were fixed on with a mixture of fear and fascination. Turned to face the weapon wall. Training protocols allow for demonstration matches between instructors and cadets, he said loudly. This is for educational purposes. The human claims his grip is superior. We will test this claim. He selected 2 training knives from the wall. These were different from the standard blades. They had dull edges and rounded tips. They would leave bruises, not cuts. They would break bones, not slice flesh. "Blunted blades?" asked. "Of course," replied. There was a sound in his voice that might have been cruel amusement. "I want you conscious enough to learn from your mistake." Took one of the blunted knives. He tested its weight, similar to the standard academy blade but slightly heavier. The balance was the same. He reversed his grip. Made that clicking sound again with his mandibles, still holding it wrong, even now. "Still holding it right," replied, "for a human." They moved to the center of the white zone. The other cadets pressed against the edges of the circle, trying to get the best view. Several instructors had appeared in the viewing gallery above the training floor. Word was spreading quickly through the station. A human challenging a master instructor on his first day of training. This had never happened before. Took his position. His 4 arms held 2 knives each for a total of 4 blades. He stood in the traditional fighting stance, weight balanced equally, arms positioned to attack from any angle. Stood simply. His weight was slightly forward. His knife hand was low, blade pointed toward the ground. His other hand was open, relaxed, ready. "Begin," said one of the assistant instructors. Moved first. He was fast, incredibly fast. 300 years of technique and 112 years of personal experience combined into a single explosion of movement. His upper right arm slashed downward towards head. At the same time, his lower left arm thrust forward towards stomach. His remaining 2 arms swept in from the sides, creating a cage of steel. It was a pattern designed to overwhelm. No matter which attack the opponent tried to block, the other three would find their target. This was how they fought. This was why they dominated the rankings. 4 arms meant 4 attacks. No other species could match this natural advantage. But did not try to match it. He dropped his body low, letting the overhead slash pass above his head. His reversed grip moved in a tight arc, catching the thrust from below and redirecting it sideways. And instead of jumping back from the sweeping attacks, he stepped forward. Into his guard, into the space between his 4 arms. The fighting style needed space. It needed room for all 4 arms to work. It needed distance to build power for the slashing motions. Understood this in the first moment of the fight. He had studied alien combat videos for years before coming to the academy. He knew what to expect. Inside the guard, everything changed. Tried to adjust. He tried to bring his arms inward to create distance to push the human away, but was already moving. His reversed grip allowed him to hook one of his arms, trapping it against his body. His blade swept upward in a tight arc. If the blade had been sharpened, it would have opened his throat. Instead, it stopped just below the instructor's mandibles, close enough to feel the cold metal. The match lasted less than 4 seconds. The training hall was silent, completely, absolutely silent. Even the whispers had stopped. Even breathing seemed to stop. Did not move. He stood frozen with a dull blade pressed against his throat. His many eyes were wide. His mandibles were still. Held his position for 1 more second. Then he stepped back and lowered his blade. The reversed grip, he said, is designed for close combat, for trapping, for turning an enemy's strength against them. He looked at the crowd of stunned cadets. Humans do not have 4 arms. We cannot attack from multiple angles at once, so we learned a different way. Finally moved. He stepped back slowly. He looked at the human with an expression that was difficult to read. In 112 years of teaching, said quietly, no first-year cadet has ever touched me in a demonstration match. Said nothing. In 9 wars and countless battles, continued, only 3 enemies have ever gotten inside my guard. Still remained silent. His mandibles clicked, but this time the sound was different, softer, almost thoughtful. I think, the old instructor said, that I need to understand more about how humans fight. The training hall erupted into chaos after the match. Cadets talked over each other in a dozen different languages. Several instructors hurried down from the viewing gallery, speaking rapidly into communication devices. Word was spreading across the entire station. A human had defeated instructor in 4 seconds on his first day, but raised one of his 4 arms, and the hall became quiet again. The old instructor still commanded respect, even after his defeat. Explain, he said too. There was no anger in his voice. There was only a deep and genuine curiosity. Explain your technique. Nodded, he held up his training knife and demonstrated the grip again. Humans call this the reverse grip, he said. Some call it the grip because it looks like how we hold a tool for breaking ice. The blade extends from the bottom of the fist. The edge faces inward or outward depending on the situation. He moved through a series of motions, upward cuts, hooking movements, tight, controlled arcs that stayed close to his body. This grip sacrifices reach, continued. A human using this grip cannot strike from far away, but it gives us something else. Control, the ability to trap and redirect, the ability to fight in close quarters where longer weapons become useless. He flipped the knife to the standard academy grip. Humans also use this grip, he said. We call it saber grip or hammer grip. It is for slashing at a distance, for building power through the arm and shoulder. He demonstrated some longer cutting motions. Both grips are correct. Both grips are useful. The question is not which one is better. The question is which one is better for the situation. Moved closer. His many eyes studied his hands carefully. Your species developed both techniques independently, asked. Many techniques, replied. Humans spent thousands of years fighting each other before we even knew other species existed. Every culture on our planet developed different methods, different weapons, different philosophies. He reached into his training uniform and pulled out his grandfather's old knife. It was not allowed to bring personal weapons to training, but no one moved to stop him. This knife belonged to my family for 4 generations, said. It taught my great-grandfather how to fight, then my grandfather, then my father, then me. He held the simple steel blade up for everyone to see. It is primitive by galactic standards, basic metal, basic design, but the techniques that go with it are not primitive. He moved through a quick series of patterns, forward grip flowing into reverse grip, slashing motions becoming trapping motions, attack becoming defense becoming attack again. Human blade fighting is not one style, said. It is hundreds of styles, thousands of years of warriors killing each other and learning from those deaths. Every generation added new ideas. Every war created new techniques. Was quiet for a long moment. The other cadets watched and waited. In 300 years, finally said, 47 species have attended this academy. He turned to address the entire group. All of them tried to adapt themselves to our techniques. They stretched their bodies. They modified their grips. They struggled to match what we considered proper. He looked back at. None of them ever asked if the technique should adapt to them instead. The words hung in the air. Several cadets exchanged confused glances. This was not how they expected the lesson to go. They expected punishment. They expected anger. They did not expect the instructor to learn from the student. Perhaps, continued slowly, that is why human warriors are so unexpected. You do not try to become something you are not. You take what you are and make it into a weapon. Stepped forward from the crowd. Her silver fur had settled down, and her eyes were bright with interest. Does this mean we can develop our own techniques too? She asked. Techniques that fit bodies instead of bodies. Clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. That is an excellent question. He turned to the assistant instructors. Contact the Academy Council. Request an immediate meeting. He looked at. You will come with me, human. We have much to discuss. Put his grandfather's knife back in his uniform. Yes, instructor. As they walked toward the exit, made a sound that might have been a laugh. You know, human, you are either very brave or very stupid, challenging an instructor on your first day. My grandfather used to say that bravery and stupidity are often the same thing, replied. The only difference is whether you win or lose. Clicked his mandibles again. I think I would have liked your grandfather. He would have tried to fight you, said. Yes, agreed. I think I would have liked him very much. 6 months passed on Station Meridian. The stars continued their slow dance outside the viewports. Ships came and went, bringing new cadets and taking away graduates. The rhythm of the academy continued as it had for 3 centuries. But something had changed. Stood at the front of the Blade Training Hall, wearing the silver rank insignia of advanced student. This rank was normally given after 2 years of training. He had earned it in 6 months. The Academy Council had created a new position just for him, student instructor. Beside him stood instructor. The old had requested to work with the human personally. Some said it was because he wanted to learn. Others said it was because he wanted revenge. The truth was somewhere in between. On the other side stood the female who had been so nervous on that first day. She now wore the blue insignia of teaching assistant. Her silver fur was always perfectly groomed, and her eyes were always watching, always learning. A new group of first-year cadets filled the training floor. 50 young warriors from across the galaxy, all looking at the unusual trio at the front of the hall. Welcome to the Galactic Combat Academy, began. His voice was calm and confident. Before we start, I want you to forget everything you think you know about proper technique. He held up a training knife. "There is no universal correct way to hold a blade," he said. "There is only what works for your body, your reach, your strength, your species." He flipped the knife between grips smoothly. Standard academy grip, reverse grip, several positions in between. "The academy used to teach one method because one species dominated these halls," continued. "The built this place, the designed the curriculum, the way became the only way." He glanced at. "That is no longer acceptable." Clicked his mandibles in agreement. "The old ways served us well for many years, but the galaxy is changing. More species are joining the community. More types of warriors are coming to train. We must change with them." A young human female in the front row raised her hand. Her name tag read Bay. "Is it true," she asked, "that you defeated Instructor in 4 seconds on your first day?" Smiled slightly. 3.5 seconds actually, but that is not important. "It was 4 seconds, interrupted. "I have reviewed the recording many times." 3.5. 4. Made a soft sound that was the version of a laugh. "They have this argument at least once a day," she told the cadets. "You will get used to it." The new cadets relaxed slightly. Some of them even smiled. "Today," said, returning to the lesson, "we begin with a simple question. Not what is the proper grip, but what grip is proper for you." He gestured to the weapon wall. "Each of you will select a training knife. Then you will show us how your species holds a blade, how your culture fights, what your people have learned through generations of warfare." A tall cadet with blue skin and long arms raised a hand. "My species does not have a blade fighting tradition. We evolved on a water world. We fought with harpoons and nets." "Then show us that," replied. "Show us how you throw, how you trap, how you move." He looked at the entire group. "Every technique has value. Every tradition has something to teach. Our job is to find what works for each of you and make it stronger." The cadets moved to the weapon wall. They selected their blades. They returned to the training floor and began to demonstrate their techniques. Watched carefully. A species with 4 legs showed a low, stable fighting stance. A species with flexible bodies showed a flowing, unpredictable style. The Waterworld species demonstrated throwing motions that could be adapted for knife combat. Each one was different. Each one was valuable. Walked among the cadets, offering comments and suggestions, but he no longer demanded they adopt the way. Instead, he asked questions. He tried to understand. He looked for ways to improve what they already knew. After 2 hours, called the cadets back together. "In the old academy," he said, "graduation rate was 40%. 4 out of 10 cadets finished their training. The rest failed or quit because they could not adapt to a system that was never designed for their bodies." He paused and looked at the diverse group before him. "In the 6 months since we changed the curriculum, the graduation rate has increased to 70%. Combat effectiveness in mixed species units has doubled. Warriors are not just surviving their training. They are becoming the best versions of themselves." Bay raised her hand again. "What happened to the old instructors who disagreed with the changes?" Answered this question. "Some retired, some transferred to other positions. Some," he clicked his mandibles, "learned that even old warriors can discover new things." After the training session ended, walked through the academy halls. The walls were covered with plaques honoring past graduates, thousands of names from dozens of species, warriors who had gone on to protect their worlds, their systems, their peoples. Near the main entrance, a new plaque had been installed. It was smaller than the others, made of simple metal with simple words. "The best technique is not the oldest, it is the one that works." The plaque was attributed to Instructor, first human blade master of the Galactic Combat Academy. Stopped in front of the plaque. He thought about his grandfather who had first put a knife in his hand. He thought about his family, still on Earth, probably watching the news and wondering how their son was changing the galaxy. He thought about all the cadets who would come after him, all the species who would finally have a chance to learn in ways that made sense for their bodies, all the warriors who would become stronger because someone had dared to say the old ways were not the only ways. Appeared beside him, thinking about home, she asked. Thinking about the future, replied. They stood together in silence, watching the stars turn slowly outside the great windows of Station Meridian. The universe was vast and full of dangers, but somewhere out there, new warriors were being trained. Warriors who fought like themselves, not like someone else. And that made all the difference.